All right, everyone. Thank you for joining this morning. My name is Saylor Howell with OmniDeck, and we're here to talk about several things that typically offer or come from several different apps in the industry, and we do them in different places. Onboarding, managing expenses, time collection, and daily reporting. So what does this mean when we say all of this by tomorrow? We feel that what we provide here at OmniDeck can rapidly deploy um, many of these things in a matter of hours to days to weeks on very complex processes. And so we want to show you a little bit of what some of our customers are seeing and how we're approaching what the industry frankly has just really struggled with, which is unifying applications and systems so that we don't have to go multiple places to do the things we need to do really in one or two places. So real quick background, what are we experiencing today? We've seen over the last 20 plus years what we call Appageddon. And what that's done is out in the field, we have multiple applications. In the office, we've surrounded ourselves by critical business applications that address maybe a department or critical business issue. And what this has created is this technology stack of multiple islands of software that have caused us to have. Right here, you can see we've got 12 apps, 38 employees, creates around 400 connections, and usernames and passwords, different things to break, different support departments to call. It really becomes a big headache, and many of the need why we need IT professionals to work in-house or as an outsourced consulting team to manage all of this. So the challenge with this type of environment that I'm sure you're all very painfully familiar with is that here we've got a list of different apps that we use: time collection, expense reporting, work orders, daily reporting, project management, maybe Procore. And these are just different places for us to approve and reject and hold processes, forms, information that we need to get ultimately back to the office. That's one of the gates, is approval, right? The other side to this is they all boast real-time reporting, and that's true for that specific application. But across our company, we don't see that real-time reporting. So it leads us to, once we start to interface or integrate, those are two very different things. If there is some level of integration to our ERP system or a system of record in accounting, there's a somewhat of a brick wall in integration. There's certainly a stop here because we get a half-truth, we get a lot of half-truths or islands of software and applications that don't give us the full picture. So if you're a CFO, an owner, or a COO, and you're really looking to see, can I get some executive dashboards or executive company-wide reporting that can tell me, hey, how many change orders do we have on this job, and how much has our original estimated contract amount changed? Are we still at 8% margin, or have we crept back down to 3 or 4 from change orders that are still out in the field that we haven't heard about because they haven't made it through approval, or maybe haven't even been scanned in the system? So these are the kinds of things. Maybe we haven't caught up on labor. We don't really know what our labor costs are. We might be at 25% complete or at that phase of the job, but our reporting shows us at 20. So we're not able to get the draw from the bank that we need to fund the rest of the progress on the job. So all of these things really hold up progress, ultimately hold up cash flow, and make it harder for accounting to do the things they need to do because it's coming from multiple places. So what we've done is sort of bust down that brick wall here at OmniDeck by creating one or fewer applications and places to collect data. What does that mean? In the life of a guy out in the field, a project manager or a laborer out in the field, if he has the ability today to enter time on his phone or on a tablet, that is one step in the right direction. However, many of the very, very forward and progressive thinking construction companies out there already have multiple applications in place for their field guys to enter data. And sometimes that's pretty cumbersome to do that in multiple places. So what we're looking at is, how can we reduce that number of apps out in the field? How can we reduce the number of apps in places that we do work back in the office? So really, if we can just collect data in a digestible, simple form that's customizable to your work process, chat around it so we don't have to use email as much or Teams or Skype, um, and then approve right there and send that into our ERP and then also pull data back out. If we're able to do this in one place instead of 5, or one place instead of 3, that can really start to give us the type of reporting that we're looking for. And although it might be very appealing to do daily reporting, time, expense, HR onboarding in one place, that is valuable. What's more valuable is being able to give a company-wide picture of what reality is today and not a partial reality with missing data. So a lot of large companies that you already know about are doing this. This idea is not new. It's called an intranet portal or an in-house business portal, if you want to call it that. But essentially, when you go onto Amazon on your phone and you buy a package, some presents for the kids for their birthday, or you go onto Facebook and you chat on Facebook about some comment that somebody brought up or a news article, these are intranet portals that we're used to using day in and day out. You can see here NBC Universal uses one. Many of the larger companies use intranet portals, and it's one place to go for internal news, what's going on with our customers, HR stuff, maybe forms for PTO requests, or just internal processes that we need that can easily integrate with our current systems. The challenge with this, it costs too much money. So we're dealing with a situation where on these big internet portals like Amazon or NBC Universal or Nike, they're spending upwards of millions of dollars to build these out. Although it is the best case scenario, you, me, and everybody else in construction can't really afford that. It's not feasible. So there are companies like OmniDeck that are starting to wise up and create something that's a little easier to use and affordable for the small to medium-sized business. So what does this look like? Well, we look at business process sort of like an assembly line. And really, if we simplify and dumb down all of our business process in our daily lives at work, it's really, what are we doing? We're trying to collect some type of data, and we just need to review, approve that data, maybe ask a question or get some information back through a chat. And then ultimately, once that's approved and back into our ERP system, we need to report on it, right? Well, that's all OmniDeck is doing, but we're doing it in a very, very simple format that's customizable to you. Drag and drop, no code forms, very easy to capture the kind of data you want, chat and approve around that specific work process, and then report off of it on the fields that you want. In today's day and age, we're not scanning the 8.5 by 11 on everything. We have this ability in what you might call big data, or you're used to going into Google and doing a keyword search and it pulling up different things that might be close to your keyword. Well, you can kind of do those types of things in OmniDeck in the sense of reporting. We're looking at, let's report off of every piece of data that's in your form in that document, instead of just how you classify the document. So there's lots more choices and lots more ability to report on different areas. If you don't know exactly what you want, you can find it easily. So this is the assembly line. Why is this important? Appreciate if I used one application for time collection, and this is what it looked like, and we said, we really need a better expense management process. All I have to do is create a new process, new form, create a workflow of approval around it. And now we have that new process inside of the same system. So what our customers start to see through this assembly line is a 90% reduction in the time that it takes to implement a new application or new process, because we don't have to train our staff on a new application. We don't have to implement a new application, which is a bear. We don't have to do all of these types of things. So it's really started to accelerate business efficiency, both out in the field and in the office. Now, OmniDeck, without OmniDeck, what we're used to is having these different applications by department here, you can see, and they all have a line pointing into the ERP system. But with OmniDeck, what we've done is acted sort of as a wrapper to our ERP system and connected all these apps together. Now, not all of these might be OmniDeck. You might say, you know what, we love Procore. We're not getting rid of Procore. That's fine. Or you might have some other app you really need to keep. Well, that's fine. In many cases, we can integrate or interface with that, but help eliminate some of the apps that you have and do all that information in OmniDeck, or prevent you from having to go out and buy new applications if you could possibly do that work process in OmniDeck. So, so basically, OmniDeck really starts to become a replacement to your traditional business office. Most of our customers come in, they use us for time collection or HR onboarding or some process, and they start to realize that, hey, we can open this up to another department and then another department and another ancillary process that we don't really have an app for. And it becomes your intranet portal and the place where everybody goes. And I use OmniDeck at OmniDeck for my daily work, and it's my cup of coffee screen in the morning. So I get there. Yeah, I've got Outlook. I don't use it as much anymore now that I use OmniDeck, but I get in and I do many of my work processes within the system. So that's where I go. Example use cases, and we'll jump into the software, but these are a few areas that are very common for our customers to come to us for. Although we've done some very custom processes in terms of maybe a sales order system and invoicing with three-way match that emails the customer, updating inventory when items are used that were in the warehouse. There's lots of very different scenarios that we can do within OmniDeck. Here's a few: onboarding, service ticket reporting, task management, vendor pre-qual, customer portals, purchase orders, change orders, a lot of this kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and take a look into the software and give y'all some use cases on how to use OmniDeck. What I'll start with here, this is OmniDeck. This is, again, my cup of coffee screen in the morning. And I have my forms here on the right. My inbox, just like I would use Outlook, is here in the middle. I can drill into one of these forms, chat around it, approve it, maybe fill in some cost codes if it was sent to me. And this is all integrated with my ERP system or my job cost accounting system. And on the left, I have these insights, and these are basically, it's just a fancy word for reports that allows me to report off of any data that I'm allowed to see. And then we have a few navigational buttons here on the left side. Now, we're going to start with our marketplace here. This is just a library of various processes and forms by department that you can download, and you just add them to your library. For instance, you might come in here and say, you know what, we need a change order, a better change order process. So let's take a look at this one. It's got materials on it, a place for a signature, an image. This looks pretty good. At least it's something close enough to where we can edit it. So I might add that form to my library. These are all free. We're adding new ones fairly often. I can go over here. Maybe I need something for payroll. So I need an employee time card. So I'll take a look at one of these and add it. But once I've added that form, I can go back into here and, for instance, pick my, expense report. Once I'm in my expense report, you can see this is sort of our form builder. On the left, we have a bunch of different options. These are just really questions and answers. If I want a GPS tag on here, maybe we want a yes or no question on the expense report. So we're going to add that and say, is the receipt present? And now every time somebody enters your expense report, they have to say, is the receipt present or not? If you've got an issue where people are not providing complete data from the field or providing backup to the data like receipts, then you can implement something like this. And now show me everybody in the month of August that gave us an expense report, submitted it without a receipt. I can report off of that in my insights. Very easy to do. We're also doing math here. Like, for instance, in our expense report on this particular form, we've got mileage reimbursement right here. And I've tagged these F1, A1, A2. These are just like cells in Excel. And I can actually go in here and do formulas. Like maybe our mileage is not 0.55, it's 0.545, right? So we can do that math here. And very easy to handle any of this the way that you want. You can even get a little more complex with this. Let's say this is a brand new form and you wanted to do more of a grid format, kind of like in Excel. I'm going to show you a daily report here in just a minute, and this is how we built it. So you don't have to know much about programming or anything like that to be able to do this. It's all no code oriented. So I can configure this tab, and maybe I call the first tab labor on my daily report. And then I just drag what I want into that tab. Assets are just valid lookups into jobs, cost codes, vendors, et cetera, employees in our ERP system. So our integrations team has already done all this connection. So all you have to do is drag and drop. So I might say, I want to capture the employee, the job, let's say number of hours, and repeating assets, cost codes over repeating assets. So now that's built, and all I have to do is connect this and call it what I want. So this is, we'll call this one employee, and then we'll go to employees. Now that's connected to my ERP employees. So when they select this, employees will come up in the form. And then I can call this one, equipment, and the next one production, whatever I need to do there. All right, so very easy to navigate within the system. Finally, I'll say workflow within OmniDeck is very easy to do. Once you've got your form, what type of criteria do you want to route your form? This particular work process, we're just going to pick accrue timesheet, and I'll call this test. Some of you may have seen this before, but we're going to go to several different examples here in a moment. But once a form or process is filled out, where does it go? We may want it to go to a hierarchy node, which would be, this would be a department. So I'll go to my departments here that our setup team loaded for me. And let's say we want this to go to our construction department first, or maybe no AP accounting, okay? Now, once that expense report's filled out and it goes to accounting, they're gonna have the chance to approve that. Then we wanna add a condition where maybe total requested amount is a certain amount, right? Let's see if I can find my total requested amount here, or maybe it's total hours on an expense report or per diem. So I'll just add this, and I can say total hours are greater than 40. So we want to capture any areas where there's overtime. So we'll add the condition, and if it's over 40 hours, I want it to go to the CFO over here, because we had an issue with a lot of people working too much time and not letting us know. And us catching it too late. And then I want it to go to the controller. But if it's under 40 hours, I just want it to go straight to the controller of the company, right? So super easy to build these workflows. Now that's done, it's gonna route to the right places. You might route based on job or project manager. You may route based on location. These types of things are very easy to accomplish inside of OmniDeck. So let's get back to the title of the webinar and go in sequential order. And we first talked about onboarding. Now I'm going to speak directly from my experience at OmniDeck in onboarding. Now, my first day at OmniDeck, I received an email that was very similar to this one right here. And, this one is replying to a comment, but it said, welcome to OmniDeck. Please go to fill your data out or fill out your HR portal. So, I clicked on the button, it took me into OmniDeck, and I was able to start filling out my new hire packet. Now this one is going to a particular form where we've got some collaboration back and forth around a sales order. So what I experienced within the system, and this is my actual OmniDeck home setup that I use daily here. You can see some new customers came on, some expense requests, some sales order logs, knowledge base requests. But I'm going to go to the actual onboarding portal that I used at OmniDeck. Let me shut this off right here. 1 second. All right, so these are our different portals, and here's our new hire portal. And let me pull that up here. All right, so if I wanted to edit the portal kind of looked like this, and we're able to spin these up in about 2 minutes, and you fill out the intro text that you want and add the forms that you want into the portal. This is all I saw. So I had my OmniDeck new hire packet. I clicked fill out in the portal. And then my experience looked something kind of like this. Here was my new hire packet. And as you bring on new hires, you might be using OmniDeck for other stuff, but add HR onto it. So I just started filling out my employee information. It took me about 15 minutes to do this entire process. My W-4, we embedded PDFs into the system. Very easy to do here. And I just start filling out my W-4. So these are all fillable PDFs. And then I had a button here that said start signing, and I was able to e-sign that here. I was done signing. I added a picture of my my driver's license here, did the rest of it, and then checked the box to I hereby consent to the signatures of my own volition, and signed it. Now it's dated, and I thanked Chris Jordan for making this so easy. So we were able to collaborate a little bit back and forth. If I had a question, I could type that to him. I see everybody who would receive that message here. I had a couple of people help me with onboarding, and so they received these messages. If I would have said, hey, can you help me with step 2? Then they get that and they can reply right back from their email directly into this form and help me with my onboarding here. I also, in every form, have an audit trail of everything that happened by who and when. So very nice to have that. The other side to this, though, is this is not all there is to HR onboarding. We might have a PTO request. You can see that in here. I've got my out of office requests, some other things here, and I can come fill out this request. I just select my employee and the type of, maybe this is PTO, and I just go fill this out. It doesn't require supervisor approval. I sign it, send it on, and then I get that put into my PTO. How much time do I have left? It's going to update all that information. But you might also want to implement something like an intercompany training program. We've got a lot of companies that do stuff like that. Like, for instance, here, Baker Construction, this is their training course. So Baker Construction, and this is a dummy name here. This is something that I built, but Baker Construction's training course here, they come in, an employee selects the employee, it's got their phone number. We pull all this information from the ERP system of our customers. I'm going to select my date, and here's a few videos that I need to complete to finish my training course in section 1, how to request a purchase, efficient work on the field. We want to make sure people are using our systems correctly. And by the way, these are all YouTube videos you can look up on OmniDeck if you want to go to our YouTube. Company process review. Here's the new hire portal. You can see, we can go through our internal systems, take a look at how we use our systems at ABC Construction, right? And then at the bottom, once I've watched these videos and it's shown complete, I can click here that I sign confirming my completion of section 1. And then I can either sign this if I'm watching on my phone, or use a default signature. Congratulations, I've completed section 1 of the new hire orientation class. Once I submit that, there's going to be a chat here. So I can say, thanks for section 1, starting 2 now. And now the rest of the team in this that's in this workflow is going to receive that message. So there's a lot more to show when it comes to new hire onboarding and things that current employees can do within the system. For the sake of time, we're going to jump to a couple of other areas. So let's go to daily reporting, then we'll hit time and expense after that. We've got a few companies who are really starting to take advantage of how we do daily reporting. Everybody's got a daily report to make sure we know what's going on the job and in the office. And basically, this is one that we did for a company called Parfab. If there's anybody that doesn't have your phone on mute, please check and make sure your phones are on mute. I appreciate it. So this is a company called Parfab, and I've pulled their daily report into our system. And basically, they're collecting, they go in and pick the job, the date, foreman, shift type, weather conditions, and they're collecting time per diem, even equipment maintenance, what's happening to our yellow iron out in the field, pulling in the schedule of values from their existing ERP, and even doing production units and managing safety all in one report. A lot of times this is 3 applications that you have to go into on a typical construction company. Well, what's interesting about them is they've got people coming into the office that they have a facial recognition scanner actually out in the warehouse, and we're able to read that recognition scanner, and it fills in their time for them based on their employee record and their craft type that's already in their employee record in the ERP. So it automatically fills this in. Now this routes around for approval after the project manager signs off on it, and then accounting can approve this, ask questions if they need to, and then go on with their day. If we get into, I'll show you Sage, something that we're building for Sage that they're going to be using in Sage Intact, and this is part of their portal. Let's see here. Give me 1 second. Apologies. Yeah, so we built a daily report for Sage, and they asked us to sort of show production units laid from the field for their customers. So we can basically download this like you would from the marketplace. These are already done. So I might come in here and put my cost code for this particular thing. You see there's no data to display for this daily report. Maybe I was filling this out in the field on a tablet. Well, I've got to select my job or the entity. What company is this with? What job is this with? What employee is this with, right? As of date. Now my cost codes, they start showing up here, and then I'm going to select my unit of measure. Maybe this is linear feet, and we're actually pulling in the budgeted amount for several of our companies who are doing daily reporting. So their budgeted amount automatically pre-fills and also fills in their units to date. If you've got a WIP report right now that you're manually filling out, stop doing that. You start using OmniDeck for it. Because if we're collecting this data from the field in a daily report, then it's updating our percent complete. In many cases, we can update that WIP report back in your ERP so you don't have to. So we put our notes, we fill this out, we save it, submit it, it's approved, drops back in through integration into the ERP system. All right, so let's take a quick look at time collection. And I'm here in my portal. Let's see what time cards I have here. Here's one of my timesheets. And so this looks pretty similar, but maybe you don't want to do time just like this. You've got each one of the employees entering their own time cards. Well, that's perfectly fine. However you want to do it, you can do it that way. So I'm going to pull up my employee time card, and let's say they're going to do this on their phone. So this is going to optimize to the size of the device that they're using. An iPhone, Android, doesn't really matter. And they can come in here and fill this out. So again, they're going to fill out their employee name. And maybe they've got multiple days they're filling out. They didn't get their time in until the end of the week, which you probably all see very often, but they put their time in. And once they've done that, maybe it's a little easier to see once they've done it on a multi-line basis here over multiple days. So I'm going to just select a day. I'll say this is Monday. And I'll say my time in was 2 o'clock, time out was 6 o'clock. And maybe we want to manually put in how many hours we had here. This can calculate it if we needed it to, and paid time is overtime. So I'll use my default signature, and manager can sign it here. And now I want to do one more tab for Tuesday. So come in for Tuesday, and we'll say I came in at 8. And I can put this on rollers or however I need to collect the time here. I'll say 8 hours and then 2 hours overtime, or 6 hours and 2 hours overtime. And now it's going to put this time in more of a grid format so I can see it real easily. So however you want to look at expenses or time, it's up to you. One last thing I'll point to here is if we're doing something like expenses, I might have my guys out in the field just submitting an expense report, right? They come in, do their expenses. They took a trip to Home Depot, bought some 2x4s and some caulk and some nails, right? A lot of times these expenses don't make it back to the office with a receipt. Sometimes they don't make it back to the office quick enough, or they come in too quickly and the guys are saying, hey, I need to get paid on this quick. Well, did you submit an expense report? Well, no, here's the receipt, just pay me on it. Well, that's not how accounting works. We have a process. We can't just pay you out of petty cash, right? So we have to have an expense report filled out. So now go to your OmniDeck and fill out your expense report. Once they fill this out, if you're used to Concur or something like that, we can mimic how Concur looks. Like for instance, this expense report grid, some of our customers using this, that they're able to have all of the expenses for a particular employee populate here. That employee can come in, and how are they populating? We can pull from the Amex or MasterCard company card from that employee and populate this with their statement automatically and the charges. So really all they have to do is once the charges have filled out here, they just need to select, do I have my own paper receipt with it? Let me cost code that. Let's see, I haven't even selected an employer job here. So there's the card that it's coming from that would automatically populate. And then they can just start cost coding this. So maybe this is to general conditions, and 25 bucks was here, and then 45 was here. So they cost code this, they send it around for approval, and we have a very similar experience to Concur. Now this can look many different flavors, shapes, and sizes. And again, it's all drag and drop. Now, some companies look at OmniDeck and they go, hey, this is cool. Looks like it can do multiple things in multiple places. We might be interested, but it's just another thing for me to learn, right? Well, we have industry experts here in-house that have worked at construction companies with subcontractors and general contractors that help with process building within OmniDeck. So what we help you do is when you start, we train you on the system, we build out a few processes for you that you're going to be using and the workflows, and then we train you how to do it yourself. However, if you don't want to do it yourself, like we have, a company here, Caretaker, which some of you might have seen before, they didn't want to utilize us to build their forms for them, which we can do. They wanted to do them themselves. So they had a lady come in for process improvement, working part-time. She created one form, and now their entire company is using OmniDeck. You can see here, they've got about 70 forms, and every department has a form. Every department has multiple forms. They're transferring inventory from trucks to warehouses. They're ordering new inventory. They've got sales orders and work orders, vehicle inspection forms, even have forms in Spanish for their Spanish-speaking labor to enter information and get it in from the field. So business is changing, construction is changing, and technology is changing. Technology has been too hard to accept and adopt, especially for the field, for too long, and it's been too complicated. And it's now time for things to become a little more simple to accomplish the data collection that we need now and not 3 weeks from now. So I'll end with a quick story here. One of our customers, Civil Construction, I spoke with them at the recent CFMA conference in New Orleans, and we were talking about tech adoption from the field. It's been a big issue for a long time since technology has been in construction. And she said, we've really had a lot of success with OmniDeck. And I said, cool, tell me your story. She said, well, we have a lot of labor out in the field that don't really use much technology. And I said, surely everybody's got a phone with Facebook on it or something like that to stay in contact with your family. And she said, well, no, some of them have flip phones and can hardly use those. I said, well, are they using OmniDeck? She said, well, now they are. So I was very interested at how did you get the rest of your labor to adopt that technology? And she said, we started them on sort of just a little stair-stepping process. So, one of the guys, we offered some premium equipment, some carbon fiber hard hats or some other things, just some perk if they would start taking a picture with their phone of a form, an expense report form that they would have to fill out anytime there's some expenses. So yeah, they still filled out the paper, but they took a picture of it and they texted it to somebody in the office. Well, there was a perk for that. So he started doing that, got used to it. Then she said, hey, if you can do this, take the picture, then email it to accounting, then we've got some more perks for that. So he started doing that, got used to it. Now those laborers that were having some challenge with tech adoption are filling out forms on a company phone in OmniDeck without any problems, and the entire field, all the field workers are using OmniDeck from the field. So, and they're liking it a lot more because they don't have to go into 3 applications to do 3 different things. They can literally use the assembly line like we talked about. Everything is just a form. It's approval and chat around the form, and it's reporting off of it. So finally, for those of you that haven't seen this, OmniDeck makes it very, very easy to kick out to Excel or just look at any type of data that you want. Everything that's in a form is those questions and answers is reportable and searchable. This is my expense report. All of the data fields and more is right here, so I can select what I want. And I might want to look at, hey, show me everything by a category. I want to see how much work we've been getting on electrical. So for final cleaning, it looks like we haven't been doing very much of that. So we've only spent $850 here, and that was in March. So, or maybe we want to look at everything by job, so real easy to pull all these up here. And once you get things like you want, you can kick that out to Excel. You could be doing something like some draw reporting, and you want to pull the reporting that you need to send to the bank for a draw to show them our % complete. Well, do your daily report in OmniDeck and pull the draw reporting right here, kick it out to Excel. We can even do that with the backup, with invoices, purchase orders, all of that stuff with it, and checks if you wanted to put that together. So there's a lot of really cool things that we can do here. I might want to jump in here and into one of those forms and look at what was going on, and even type to who was involved in that form and chat with them about it. So a lot of cool stuff here. There's still a lot more to show, but I'm sure we've talked enough for these few things, but thanks for taking a minute to look at OmniDeck. If you've seen it before and you've got some additional questions, give me, Saylor Howell, a call, or give our support folks a call. We'd be glad to visit with you. If you've got some ideas or for some new processes, another area within another department where, hey, I wonder if OmniDeck would work for this. In many cases it can, so give us a call. We'd love to build out a specific process with you, or whiteboard that process and build it in OmniDeck to show you. So thanks everybody for jumping on. I am going to open it up for questions now. So if anybody's got a question, go ahead and throw it in the chat, or feel free to open up your mic and ask the question there. One of the common questions we get, and I'll just mention this, doesn't look like we have any, is what does this look like if we wanted to talk to OmniDeck and get started? How long does that take? Well, I'll go back to this slide and we'll go ahead and say ta-da for now. But typically, if we're just getting started, we can start to get in 2 to 3 meetings. Sometimes even in 2 to 3 hours, we can start to get a few processes in place in your OmniDeck portal. Very, very rapid implementation. And what we say at OmniDeck is within 5 hours, we can do what 5 vendors, 5 months, and 5 figures it takes to do. So some of you on the call might be customers, and you might have seen that, hey, it took us a couple of weeks to get some things going. It kind of depends on your process, but look, like you can see here on the webinar, if you've got just some simple processes that you need to clean up, well, we can set those up in OmniDeck real quick. Download stuff from the marketplace, set a workflow, let's add your users, train your admin on it, and let's get this rolled out. So we'd love to work with you. It looks like we do have one question here. You mentioned facial recognition. Has anyone used QR codes from the field to tie into OmniDeck somehow? Yes, we have. we have used QR codes before. We do have some customers that are checking in and checking out tools with the scanner, and then we're connecting with the file that scanner produces to check in and check out. So we are doing some stuff with QR codes. Reach out to me, Ben, and reach out to our support department, or Lauren if you're working with her. Be glad to talk about that a little bit further. So, well, thanks everyone. Appreciate your time today. Have an awesome day, and we'll talk real soon.